Greetings. The following channel of Archangel Metatron is received through James Tyberonn and is entitled The Devic Kingdom, the Fairy World, and Electro-Plasmic Lifeforms of the Astral Realms and Non-Physical Dimensions of the Omni-Earth. This truly fascinating channel is duly copyrighted, with all rights of 3D authorship, to www.earthkeeper.com, and James Tyberonn, 2016. The channel will begin immediately after this beautiful opening music. Enjoy, and Namaste.
The Kingdom of Fae, the Astral Dimensions, Nature Spirits and Electro-Lifeforms. Archangel Metatron via James Tyberonn. Greetings Masters. I am Metatron of Angelic Light, and I am joined in this session by Tyberonn of Crystalline Service. We greet you in a vector of unconditional love. Dear ones, there are objective realities that do in fact exist in the astral and other dimensions within and above the earth-plane polarities of the Omni-Earth. The living inhabitants of the non-visible earthen dimensions are far more complex and vast in type and form than just nature spirits. Most are protean, meaning that they are capable of being formless as well as assuming various forms. We wish to emphasize the fact that astral energies are much more tangible in the enhanced ionic resonance of the new Earth of 2016 and beyond. The Earth, the Omni-Earth, is expanding in amazing ways in the ongoing transitional upshift, termed as the planetary ascension. It is an amazing time. The benchmark of 2012 initiated marvelous changes in your scope and perception of the realities around you. Realms of non-physical life that were previously much more difficult to perceive are, in the new Earth, far more accessible and perceptible to the sensitives and empaths within humanity. The crystalline shift of your planet has expanded the Earth from 3 dimensions to 12 dimensions, and the ongoing solar radiation has shifted the ionic ratio in a measurable fashion that benevolently influences the third eye, your chakric vision, via the pineal. Remember that all lens of your awareness, including 3D, are like lucid dreams, trance states. Accordingly, consciousness is simply the direction in which the self looks. It is the channel in which you have chosen to focus. And with the new frequencies of the planet, you now have increased clear reception from 3 channels to 12 channels. As such, many of you will begin experiencing the astral realm and higher dimensional activity and that is why we are offering our views of what lives within these other realities. Now we are also asked by the channel James Tyberonn to review in this gathering a fascinating and interesting topic, and one that we have not previously discussed, that of photonic and electrical life forms. These may be considered as beings that exist in the same dimensional realm as beings of the fairy Devic Kingdom, but are of a different reality and composition than nature spirits. We will mention these briefly in the first part of this three-part channel, and the second and third portions will go into much greater detail on these diverse and complex beings. And do take note, and we say again emphatically, as you enter into 2016 and beyond, these sensitive empaths among you will discover an embellished ability to experience life forms in other dimensions far more easily and far more often, especially in power node areas of full spectrum resonance. So it is appropriate to offer you understanding of this reality. The impressions most humans in the present Western cultures have of the Devic Kingdom are programmed to no small degree by Celtic folklore, Greek myth, and the Theosophical Society writings of Helen Blavatsky, Charles W. Leadbeater, Annie Besant, and Jeffrey Hodson. Although the mythology and complexities of cosmology of non-human spirit beings from the Vedic teachings is yet quite available, most in the Western cultures are at best only mildly familiar with these Vedic teachings, but in fact much of the theosophical information on these topics is drawn from the ancient Vedic, in terms of the hierarchy of such beings, and the mythological lore, catalogued by Thomas Keatley, many decades earlier than Blavatsky and Leadbeater. Expansion of astral. Yet such astral life expands far beyond the writings of the theosophical. There are, as we have mentioned, far more beings and etheric life forms that exist in what may be termed the astral planes, parallels of the Omni-Earth and higher dimensions of the earthen realms OIF post-2012, which enabled the expansion of the Earth zero plane with the addition of dimensions 7 through 12. In truth, the advent of orbs and light sprites, which began in the relatively recent past few years, are a form of the photonic life forms, now occurring visibly, and these life forms of photonic life will be discussed in part 3 of this channel. All of these non-physical life forms are constantly expanding in form and variety, not only in the Earth realms, but in the infinity of the dynamic cosmos. The Earth and duality realm of the physical Earth and 3D solar system of your universe is but one of an infinite number of universes or systems of reality, some physical in nature, some more aptly described as mental or spiritual, and there are others which are completely foreign to human concepts and quite beyond what you may imagine. Each exists with its own natural laws, and each dimension is absolutely as valid as any other, whether physical or non-physical. Leadbeater does reference the living thought forms and other energetic life that teem within and without the astral plane, and we will briefly speak on these, as well as expand on certain others. Animal life and non-transmigration. Now, before we continue, we wish to first clarify, in dissonance to the above referenced sources, that transmigration of the soul is a misunderstood generalization, and an inaccurate concept in its interpretation. Although animal spirits do exist in the astral dimensions, we assure you they do not evolve into humans. As we have shared in our earlier channels regarding the animal kingdom of the Earth plane, all animals operate in a group consciousness, without true individuality, with the exception of the cetacean dolphin. Animals are in a pre-agreed service, in step-down formats of consciousness in their incredible service to humanity in the purposed illusion of Maya within duality. With that being stated, We wish to emphasize that humans do not physically reincarnate into the group consciousness of animals. And in the earthen duality realm, animal spirits do not evolve into human souls. Every life form that reincarnates within the Earth system does so within the format that it is in, but may increase in a higher vibrational energy form of that same group field beingness. But the animal kingdom is not on the earth to evolve an individual creative consciousness in the manner of the human soul, for such evolvement occurs in individual consciousness, and animals have a group spirit, and are in stepped-down patterns of instinctual programming on a mental level. But members of the greater animal genre and kingdom do indeed have a soul nature, as do all forms of life, even those you consider non-living. We assure you that all members of the animal kingdom indeed have a soul nature, as do all forms of life. However, humans do have the ability to integrate portions of their energy into animal form. But, to be clear, this integration is not transmigration of souls. It does not mean that a man can be reincarnated in an animal. It does mean that personalities can send a portion of their energy into various kinds of life in the kingdoms of the earth. In fact, pre-duality Lemurians and Atlanteans often experienced the earth plane by projecting their consciousness into other life forms present on the earth, by forming a third meld with animals, minerals, elementals and trees. Animal totems as Devic spirits, buffalo spirit, eagle spirit, bear spirit, wolf spirit and jaguar spirit, as well as myriad others, exist in a tangible higher Devic form, especially in areas of the Americas, within areas of sufficient power nodal energy to afford and offer full dimensional spectral projection. These are higher classifications of Devic projections, rooted from the animalistic group soul, and are indeed powerful and wise energies. The animal kingdom have a more full, a more vast understanding and awareness of the other conscious kingdoms of the earth, and accordingly, have always had the ability to teach mankind. You have in current times largely forgotten, quite unfortunately, how much you learned from all of the beings of the animal kingdom. Humanity in campestral societies and cultures learned a great deal of medicine, of nutrition from watching animal behavior in interaction with the plant kingdom. Humanity observed carefully what plants to avoid, and which to cultivate. You learned survival techniques and indeed social behavior by not only watching the animals, but by directly communicating telepathically with them. We will speak in greater detail of the wise spirits and guides provided by animal totems, in their interface with the tribal nations and indigenous societies who honored them in ceremony and experienced their wisdom as shape-shifting Devic teachers in astral realms. Simultaneous realities. Each incarnated humans exists in at least 4 realms of life simultaneously, and in truth in myriad additional realms depending on the level of advancement. The 4 basic realities that all humans coexist within are: 1. The 3D physical universe. 2. The dream world. 3. The mental crystal-electrical realm, in which the inner self resides and all mental activity occurs. And 4. Angelic, the antimatter realm, which can be also simplistically described as the angelic realm. And this angelic antimatter realm is one of zero-point energy. It is a realm of non-polarity. We have spoken numerous times regarding life in astral and other dimensions beyond the third through the shared channels via Tyberonn. And indeed the channel, James Tyberonn, has shared of his experiences in specific interface with the Lake Devas of Canada and Chile, electric life forms and Fae Devics in Scotland, Colorado, Canada, Greece, Ireland, England, Arkansas, Mount Shasta and the Andes of Chile, Bolivia, Venezuela and Peru. Now, for purposes of brevity in this channel, we will only briefly reference the Deva or angelic realms of the earth, as this topic has been shared in greater detail in our prior channel on the angelic kingdom. New tangibility. We assure you that consciousness is far more mobile than humanity realize. Functionally and purposely, you have as a species focused on the relatively narrow physical 3D realm. Since the fall of the firmament, you tend to think of consciousness as a mysterious conceptual thing. A more fitting, more accurate description of consciousness is that of a specific quality and attribute of multi-dimensional beingness. Each portion is holographic, meaning that each segment of your consciousness contains the wholeness of your consciousness. This is an attribute humanity as a species have forgotten, and, for past millennia, generally speaking, no longer experience. Indeed, up until the present, mankind has largely dismissed in disbelief any ideas that one can be in their material 3D body and outside of it simultaneously. In early phases of earthen life, consciousness was much more mobile, and readily accepted as such. As we stated above, humanity could in pre-duality epochs readily see and indeed be in other dimensions, with the ability to deeply interact and actually merge with trees, animals, mineral and elemental life, and experience these as subjective realms of greater consciousness and selfhood. In current times, the matrix is in a gradual process of transition that allows for such experiences. And it is better that this be understood, rather than to dismiss consciousness visionary experiences as delusion. As such, there are forms of life that can be experienced in the present that were not as tangible, not as visible prior to the December 12 activation of the 144 crystalline grid. Astral Life Overview. For the purposes of syntax in this channel, we are combining, mass grouping, to a limited extent, nature spirits, photonic beings, and electrical life into the category of devics. Be aware there is something of a hierarchy, or perhaps better stated as differing levels of what may be termed as light quotient, intelligence, resonance polarity and dimensional level inhabitation among these. We also wish to restate that the astral realm has many subclassifications, and the lower portions of the astral or duality realms. Living thought forms. Thought forms do absolutely exist, in myriad formats, in the astral realms, but are not devics. Yet thought forms are valid, animated energies, that have varying levels of cognition, from awareness to consciousness. Some are quite independent, others may vibrationally collate, and combine by frequential attraction into group fields. Some thought forms are spawned of human intellectual processes. Thoughts are electromagnetic realities, and have an actual vitality and validity in astral planes. Indeed, combined thoughts of masses of humanity have actually created living thought forms, of not only certain mythological demigods, but also of fictionalized characters, from books, that take on a quasi-virtual reality. Many of these saints you pray to, and characters of myth you devote thought energy to, such as Santa Claus, are therefore created in a psychic process into a specific creative, holographic reality. It may surprise you to know that your Edgar Cayce once spoke of a Shakespearean play character attending one of his classes in Virginia Beach, in thought form matrix, quite independently conscious, and seeking to learn. Imagine that. While these are not elemental in source, such thought-formed identities actually exist and reside in the same parallel astral dimensional frequency as do the Devic elementals. However, such thought forms are not human, and do not become human. They are composed of mental energy given them by humans. Humans who read the books, or plays from which the character was created. Their life force is time-limited, and will in fact diminish, when not replenished by new readers. They will in time evaporate. Isn't that interesting? Practitioners of what may be termed as occult sciences, in various cultures, have understood that thoughts can be given a form of independent identity, and can be used for what may be termed as positive or negative purposes, either deliberately or unintentionally, in subjective mental dwelling or emotionally charged focus. Accordingly, there are astrally as many kinds of thought forms and shadow apparitions as there are people. These can be from living or deceased human sources. The fragments of thought forms projected from transitioned humans are as aware or unaware of their environment and situation as you are to your own, depending on their transitory level of energy force. They are not fully focused in physical reality, however, either in personality or in form, and this is their main distinction from thought forms projected by humans in living biology. Some such apparitions are simply residues of emotions, and others are lingering survival fragments of personalities. They are in themselves quite harmless. It is only when you react in fear to them that any misconstrued difficulty arises, but it is self-induced. Electro and photonic life forms. Now, please take note. Edgar Cayce referred to some Devics as mischievous tricksters. So we tell you that it is timely and indeed prudent that you be aware of the fact that there are electrical life forms inhabiting the astral planes, which, in a manner of speaking, follow the physics of the electromagnetic spectrum, meaning some are what may be termed positive and others negative. Equally are there photonic beings in the lower dimensional duality astral levels that may be termed, for the purposes of this discussion, as light or dark, in contraposition polarity effect. In the former, electrical life forms, the spectral polarity effect can perhaps be better described as give and take. For certain of the negative electrical beings are energy vampires, feeding on fear, while others actually project, offer energy, and are uplifting. There are in the opposing parameters of the electrical spectrum range, Devics that were labeled, in the theosophical publications, as malevolent, evil and demonic. These were often called as dark or evil fairies, as well as trolls, phookas and goblins in Celtic lore. Keep in mind, the lower astral realm is a polarity realm, with duality forms of beingness, in an electromagnetic field. There are unique Devic beings in this category that are capable of inducing fear, attaching to an open aura, and feeding on the fear energy. They are not truly demonic, but it is understandable why they may be considered as so. Although they can be parasitically malevolent, even sinister, in effect if one fears them, they are absolutely harmless if one does not. So the culprit is the fear reaction itself. We will address this topic in greater detail later in the second part of this interesting channel, and it is indeed a fascinating topic. But we wish to be clear. There are no demons other than the ones you create. Nature spirits, elementals and divine intelligence. The varied life forms, which are described as nature spirits, are essentially projected aspects of the air, water, fire, and earth kingdoms, mineral and plant kingdoms, which have a valid conscious, dynamic expression, in etheric body format, extended from, and beyond their core source, through vital vehicles of electromagnetic, and crystalline energy. These astral lifeforms, as well, are hierarchical, as some of the nature spirit Devic forms are much more intelligent, much more advanced, than others. Those in the higher classifications, within the kingdom of Fae, possess what may be considered as divine intelligence, whilst others of the Devic realm are more like the lower fields of that term, the bird or winged kingdom, in terms of having awareness within a group thought pattern, as opposed to individual consciousness. The nature spirits of the Fae are spawned of the 5 kingdoms of the earth, spawned of the planet, the elements, and are often referred to as elementals. The intendment of the Faerie Kingdom elementals is purposed for serving the kingdoms of the earth, those being water, air, fire, earth and ethereum. The higher intelligence among the elemental Fae will more willingly interact with certain humans, and may be drawn to humans of a positive vibration. This is especially true of the nature spirits, projected from the plant kingdom. Devics of all forms are aware of humans, especially children, who have the anomalous ability to clearly see them, and twinkling fairy spirits may often serendipitously choose to interact with them in robust delight or joyful curiosity. But the majority are less drawn to close communicative interaction with mankind, and keep a certain distance from humans. Not unlike a sparrow or thrush in one's garden that will fly away, or a rabbit that will rapidly dart off into cover if one gets too close. Accordingly, these of the baser realm are often so focused on their various roles of servitude and roles of planetary balancing that they pay little mind to less sympathetic humans, to whom they are invisible, other than to keep a wary distance. As we have stated, not all Devic forms are what you may think of as positive or benevolent in nature. Some are consciousness sourced from electromagnetic fields, and as such both positive and negative are required to balance the electrical spectrum. You see, some view mankind as kindred, others do not. Some project the vibratory essence of supreme love, others on the opposite metric or negative end of their electromagnetic range, are somewhat malicious and mischievous from your perspective. Yet both are spectra electrical forms of bioelectric plasmic life, and in a manner of speaking, are requisite to balance one another within duality realms. Fairies. The Faerie Kingdom is primarily light-based elementals, generally sourced of air, but there are significant varieties of fairies that are water-sourced and plant kingdom-sourced. The plant kingdom-sourced fairy is traditionally referred to in your folklore as pixies and brownies, both having a very excited positive vibration, often creating a sensation in humans associated with delight and laughter. They are quite real and exist all over the planet. The kingdom of Fae tends to mass in areas of higher energy, in those places termed power nodes and sacred sites. But to be clear, such locales are termed sacred and powerful precisely because the dimensional veils are thin in these vectors. All variety of the Fae are particularly drawn to gurgling brooks, small cascades, pools, crystals, flowering plants, mushrooms and particularly lush ferns and bracken. The Elfin Kingdom. Some members of the Elfin Kingdom are Devic beings that are projected from certain trees and plants, but most in this category are projections of the Earth and Mineral Kingdom. These include elves, gnomes, and trolls. The Elfin exist in forests and wooded greens, and aspects of the Elfin are particularly associated with Green Man. In a true sense, all of the elementals are interrelated, each aspect being somewhat dependent on the other, as exemplified by plants needing earth, water and light. Edgar Cayce, among others, spoke in intimate detail of having very real experiences and interactions with fairies, pixies and brownies throughout his childhood. The channel, James Tyberonn, has shared of his extraordinary experiences on Skellig Michael with lucid manifestations of fairies and pixies, with prolonged visual contact. The visual being an aspect of the energy field at Skellig and other parts of Ireland, and other embellished nodes, in which dimensional fields are concentrated and overlapping in more tangible concentricity. The forest elfin tend to abide in the bases and hollows of larger trees such as oak, and their telltale presence can oft be indicated by unusual gnarling of surface roots and limbs of the trees. Dragons, mare and unicorns. Masters, what we tell you now may surprise many of you, but the host of etheric beings also includes that you may term the unicorn, the mare people, and the dragon. These benevolent and fully conscious beings exist, and are as much a part of your earth as humanity. They possess supreme divine intelligence and are extremely advanced. They are protectors of humanity and of the planet, and are awakening into greater role in the crystalline shift of the new planet Earth. The mare, oft referred to as mermaids, and mermen, are part of the elemental aspect of the sea and water kingdom. These are keepers of the waters, and possess divine intelligence, and are frequently quite closely associated to the dolphin. We tell you that many of you have experienced life in this capacity in the pre-duality Earth, as we have discussed in previous Tyberonn channels. The mare beings are seen by and interact lovingly with the dolphin and whale. But let us be clear, dolphins and whales are physical and highly evolved beings, while the mermaids and mermen are of the higher levels within the elemental matrix, and are etheric, non-physical devics. Unicorns. Unicorns are conscious spirit projections of both the animal kingdom and human thought, merged in the ethereum aspect of the 5 elemental kingdoms. Your indigenous often interacted with evolved conscious forms of the animal kingdom as totems, including the eagle, hawk, bear, wolf, puma and such. The very process of interaction with the overlight group spirit energy of these of the animal kingdom created a very real thought-form intersection in which, through the mutual intersection of energies, a communicating, very real energy emerged, in etheric form. These are not elemental energies, but exist as very conscious, self-aware energies in the antimatter or ethereal realm. Because the unicorn was so focally included in lore in areas of Britain, Ireland and pagan Europe, especially ancient Greece, these forms do indeed independently, consciously exist, particularly in the concentric field energies of Greece, Ireland, France and Britain. This occurs in somewhat the same manner that buffalo spirit, eagle spirit, bear spirit, wolf spirit and jaguar spirit, as well as others, exist in a tangible form in areas of the Americas, where they were ceremonially honored by the tribal nations, within areas of sufficient power nodal energy to afford and offer full dimensional spectra projection. The sacred dragon. The sacred dragon are benevolent and fully conscious beings. These do indeed exist, and have existed on the planet, long before humanity. They possess supreme divine intelligence and are extremely advanced. They are protectors of humanity and of the planet, and are taking a greater role in the upshifting of the new planet Earth. These beings are masters of what is termed Earth Kundalini and as such are involved in engineering aspects of the aptly named dragon line currents and ley lines, which are in fact arteries of life force on your planet, within the elemental genre of fire. The sacred dragon are now in a greater role, involved in the formation of new energy lines within the crystal electromagnetic surge of the crystallization expansion of the new Earth, and the crystal-electric upshift of Earth current ley lines. Have not your cultures throughout the ancient world had legends and stories of these beings? Even religions in Asia devoted to sacred dragon worship. These beings are extremely advanced, and fully conscious, and have existed on the earth since the beginning. We tell you, the benevolent angelic dragons are among the ascended masters. And these sacred deva dragons have been referenced in religious texts. Do not confuse these with the concepts in myth and lore of evil dragons who kidnap princesses into castles and caverns. Nor with sensational provocative fear-based theories of an evil reptilian takeover of your planet. Indeed, the mythology of your Arthurian stories in regard to fire-breathing dragons, as evil beings that capture princesses, are indeed myths, and the descriptions are distorted and quite obtuse. We tell you this while in ancient days, pre-Lemurian, pre-Atlantean phases of the Earth, there were dragons that entered the Earth plane from Zeta Reticuli that were not benevolent. These were in fact battled and driven from the Earth by the sacred benevolent dragon beings that still reside on your planet. Although much fewer in numbers, they have always existed here, and are great protectors of your planet, and work closely within the energies of the planetary Kundalini force. Even yet the words, dragon, serpent and reptilian cause humans of the Western world to shudder in fear, and most Westerners associate these beings with evil or dismiss them completely as mythological folklore. The metaphors of St. George slaying the dragon or variations of this tale are seated in the Church's reign to demolish paganism in their crusade to politically reign and dominate. Irish traditions of St. Patrick ridding Ireland of the pagan snake, and even the deliberately misconstrued depictions the serpent in the Garden of Eden, and of Archangel Michael slaying the serpent add to this Christian desire to abolish pagan and Celtic traditions. Yet in many other cultures and religions, especially in Asia, the dragon was revered, and considered a source of wisdom, divinity and good fortune. Dragons as Devics and Devas. There is a Devic form of dragonesque beings that exist in the elemental kingdom, but these are not the sacred, fully divinely conscious dragons of which we speak. Rather are they elementals that are a conscious form of the elemental realm, projections of the fire element. The indigenous have often used fire devics in ceremony, assigning a fire keeper or fire spirit talker to hold ceremony in vision quests and ritual dances. There are also fire-based elementals that exist as elemental devic projections, considered in Celtic lore as etheric salamanders and fire glyphs. The fully conscious divine dragons, the sacred beings of which we now refer, abide both in the inner earth, particularly in volcanic regions, and others are drawn to magno-crystalline mountains in high elevations. These beings are not of the elemental electromagnetic kingdom, although they are closely aligned to the Earth's electromagnetic and crystalline energies. Some of these are massive in size, up to 50 meters in length, and radiate a golden light. They exist primarily in higher parallel dimension, but can also bodily manifest in your physical world. These are beings of golden light, and are actively involved in the energetics of your planet. They are guardians of certain of your interdimensional gates. They are indeed of divine intelligence, both etheric and physical. These exist in regions of volcanics and can be seen in areas of high energy such as the Rocky Mountains of Colorado, the Grand Tetons of Wyoming, the Alps of Europe, the Andes of South America, the Himalayas, throughout the mountains of Asia, the Urals, Japan's sacred Mount Fuji, in Banff, Canada, Mount Shasta and the crystal vortex portions of Arkansas. Crystalline beings. Many of you are aware of the consciousness with gems and crystals. Many of you work with crystalline beings. These are in the highest form of mineral elemental projection, and are of supreme intelligence. Crystals are conscious by geostructure and nature within the projection of the mineral kingdom. Crystals and gems hold consciousness of a triadic nature, and are capable of being placeholders as transmitters and receivers in full beingness. Crystals carry light, and light expands consciousness within the matrixal perfection of the crystalline form. Areas of natural crystals project a unique elemental aspect, which appears as light orbs and flashing streams of shimmering light. Arkansas has some extremely powerful and benevolent crystalline Devic energies, lifeforms that are unique to Arkansas. Banff, Canada, Brazil and Colorado also contain interesting and unusual crystalline Devics. These life forms are reactivating, becoming more tangible in the crystalline upshift of the mountain ranges within the Colorado upshift. The crystalline silicate lakes of Patagonia in South America and Banff, Canada, are liquid crystals, and are most powerfully exhibited and projected in Banff, Canada. These non-Newtonian waters are fluid conscious crystals and are living entities. Unique devas of Banff. Masters. The field of energy that makes Banff quite unique is to a great extent defined by the ability to form an extraordinary intersectional and intrasectional dimensional vector. This is indeed a heart center, a crown vector of geocrystalline matrix, projecting a resonance of pure love in non-polarity concentric overlay. And we tell you, this unique blend allows for the angelic realm to not only merge into 3D, but to supersede 3D in attribute. It is why Archangel Michael has anchored this vortex. This is what may be termed an infinity point, and is truly a vector of heaven on earth, indeed inhabited by a host of angels. And we tell you that in addition to the exquisite depth of the fairy and diva life in this resonance, there are cherubic angelics spawned of Michael, that are benevolently teeming in the fields of the crystalline waters. There are within the specific reach and succinct vibrational frequency of Lake Louise and Lake Moraine, extremely positive Christo-Devic lifeforms that do not exist in any other location on the planet. Within this unusual blended matrix are manifestations of angelic beings of a nurturing feminine nature that can not only be seen as orbs of brilliant light, but may also be heard. For these angelics project a tranquilly serene chorus that permeates all life in this extraordinary overlay. It is a euphoric energy that aligns the chakras and opens the heart and amplifies visionary perception of that term the third eye, Michael and the goddess of the lakes. It is no coincidence that these vectors brings out the best in even the unsuspecting visitor, for it is heart-stirring and awe-inspiring. We will speak more of the kingdom of Fae and the Lady of the Lake, later in this wonderful sharing. For the spirit of the nature goddess, the Lady of the Lake, has embedded most potently at Lake Louise. Speaking to the channeled James Tyberonn, and we tell you this loving spirit, the goddess of Lake Louise, the Lady of the Lake, indeed played an important interfacing role in the extraordinary vision you experienced of Archangel Michelle, in your 3-day of prayer fasting, your enlightening vision quest years ago at Lake Louise. Indeed she is waiting your re-arrival. Her presence is of the sacred Fae, Devic in nature, but of the highest level of the elemental consciousness, very close in frequency to the angelic. And we will add, that she spiritually personifies Lake Louise, and awaits you. For all who have such experiences in this crystal energy deposit portions of their soul essence in this impeccable, magnificent energy infinity point. Holders of the laws of physics. Before closing we wish to briefly reference what may be termed as diva angelics, angelic beings that exist in the earth realm of duality, as holders of the laws of physics. And keep in mind, as we have told you previously, there are no fallen angels. Rather are there angelics operating in non-celestial realms, the dimensions of duality, with the varied roles of holding the physics and laws of polarity duality in place, within your world of free will. We do not list these as devics, rather as unique angelics, or highly advanced devas. In Hinduism and Buddhism, devas are divine forms, as angels, or gods. It is interesting to note that many spiritual societies and religions, including the Native Americans and Hindu, honor the holders of these sacred directions. The Vedics refer to these as the four devarajas, the four regents of the earth, or angels of the four cardinal points and elements. And in ancient cultures, one of the four regents was a sacred dragon. The Hindus refer to these devas as the Chatur Maharajas. The points of the compass appropriated to each being, in corresponding order, to the east, south, west, and north, and their symbolical colors are white, blue, red, and yellow. Gold are also used by the Native Americans in the medicine wheel, honoring the four quarters of the earth. In Hinduism, each is assigned a divine aspect and further divided into 8 points, which can be likened to the four cardinal direction and 4 elements. They are mentioned in Blavatsky's The Secret Doctrine as winged globes and fiery wheels. And in the Christian Bible, Ezekiel makes a very remarkable attempt at a description of them in which very similar words are used. References to them are to be found in the symbology of every religion, and they have always been held in the highest reverence as the protectors of mankind. These cardinal energy points have also been referred to, in religious scripts, as being archangels Michael, Gabriel, and Raphael, and Melchizedek. What we tell you is that these points are apexes of intersecting currents of life force, and each process coordinates points that possess divine consciousness and interface between the physical and non-physical. With the laminar flow of the vertical lines of longitude and horizontal flows of latitude, the antimatter plasma will create a network of currents. The primary vertical current induces other currents at right angles to it to form golden angle offshoots at 90-degree jets that extend directly and horizontally from the vertical currents. These are pulsed at even sequences, according to the flash of consciousness light units, which somewhat corresponds to the conceptual Planck scale in space-time theory. We tell you that on your Earth, magnetic field lines emerge out of the North Pole, curve downwards, and enter the South Pole through your ovoid magnetosphere. Inside your Earth, however, these field lines move upwards, from the South Pole, to join the North Pole. These fields of force are charged ionic plasma. These flows are both in the form of matter as well as antimatter. As such, these occur within the parallel antimatter Earth, and in fact, define its composition. Antimatter plasma contains many charged particles, including what may be termed anti-electrons and antiprotons. Within antimatter bioplasma occurs, and life forms of bioplasma teem within these fields. So within, and without, your physical Earth are electromagnetic currents, which carry units of conscious, of divine life force, and in specific points are angelic beings, devas, holding the laws of physics in place for the duality physical planes, and intertwining these to the non-physical plane. These are living energy flows which operate somewhat in jet streams that flow in one direction on and above the Earth and in the opposite direction in its subsurface interior. Therefore there are current flows that are parallel to one another, flowing in opposite directions, within the ovoid of the magnetosphere. These are somewhat analogous to your longitudinal lines, and crudely recognized as Curry lines. What is not understood or as yet recognized is that these also flow in antimatter plasma, antimagnetics, anti-electrics, and are the very network of energy that connects your physical Earth to the antimatter, angelic, interfaces of Earth, the twin omnis or parallel Earths, through the flashing aspect of receiving micro-black holes, protons, and the projecting micro-white holes, electrons. There are certain points, both within the matter-antimatter flash, and planetary electromagnetic circuitry, that form pressurized nodes. These nodes act as subatomic particle amplifiers, which project coherent helical streams of antimatter ions, at specific vectors on the planet, and within such points the multidimensionality of all realms are more tangible. The angelic field within such areas are a direct result of this, and astonishing life forms teem in such vectors including the photonic, etheric and electro-plasmic, in bioplasmic matrix. Bioplasmic life is quite real, and in fact, as we have stated, your subtle body and your chakric centers tie into the plasmic sphere of antimatter, the parallel Earth. It is a less dense form of life, and not usually visible to the naked eye. It operates at a much higher frequency, and extremely high life forms abound in this energy, and evolve faster within it. Because of the unique mineralogy and gravity anomalies in areas such as Banff, Canada, the etheric realm exists in extreme lucidity. But let us be clear, the astral realm, and duality astral subdimensions exist in all parts of the Earth, and is in fact becoming more tangible to humanity. Closing. The Omni-Earth. We have spoken in many channels of the amazing qualities of the living Earth. And we tell you that no matter how you live and love upon the Earth, you gain, you expand by exploring the majesty and wisdom of Gaia. The Earth. The Omni-Earth is expanding in amazing ways in the expansion called the Ascension. It is an amazing time, and 2012 incorporated marvelous changes, in your scope, and perception of the realities around you, that were previously, much more difficult to perceive. In 2016 and beyond, you are called to remove the dross, and merge into the new energies, to explore the fascinations of the new planet Earth. Indeed, you will not marvel about the grandeur of your planet until you experience its beauty. You will marvel at the brilliance truly contained within the Earth and delight in the vast libraries of knowledge within the multifaceted, multidimensional beingness of Gaia. For the Earth also exists as antimatter, and the parallels of the Omni-Earth are teeming with life. I am Metatron with Tyberonn of Crystalline service, and we share with you these sacred truths. Dear ones, you are deeply beloved. And so it is. And it is so.